Coverage you can count on. Fox 30 Action News at 8 begins with breaking news.
An emotional update on the missing Malaysian airline on the reason the family of this passenger was dragged out of a press conference after the release of new information this morning.
But first, a deadly crash in Jacksonville involving a motorcycle. Where this is happening and the all-new information we have just learned about the man killed.
Let's get right to it. The scene still unfolding at I-95 and I-10 this morning. We just learned within the last 5 minutes that the motorcyclist was going too fast, heading around a curve, and was thrown from the bike.
We have breaking team traffic coverage for you this morning. We start with our Samuel King, who's been live on the scene for the last hour. And Samuel, we now know the victim is a 30-year-old man.
Yeah, a male motorcyclist. He was heading northbound on I-95 when this crash happened. Let me step away here so you can see what's going on right now. Troopers remain on the scene in the northbound lane here at I-95 near the Fuller Warren Bridge. This all unfolded about around 6:40 this morning. A motorcyclist was heading northbound. FHP trooper just told me within the past 15 minutes that this cyclist was heading too fast to negotiate a curve. He hit a pillar, ended up being ejected from the bike. That motorcycle actually kept going in the emergency lane. And troopers tell us that speed was a factor in this case. But this motorcyclist, whose name has not been released at this point, was wearing a helmet, did have other safety equipment on him. But since he was going too fast, he wasn't able to negotiate that curb and was ejected from the bike. Traffic is moving, as you can see, but it is moving slowly. For more on how to navigate around this traffic issue, let's go to Derek Odom in the First Alert Traffic Center. Derek?
All right, Sam. Yeah, definitely moving slowly through that area. As he said, I've been watching this since right at 6:40 this morning. That left lane remains blocked. There's several FHP troopers on scene along with road rangers and maintenance crews as they continue their investigation in that area. We're seeing definitely some stop-and-go traffic through that area. Not bad. Traffic is squeezing by, but if you want to avoid it altogether, you can always exit downtown, take Main Street over to the north side. If you're heading north toward the north side, toward the airport, you can avoid that altogether. It's getting through there, but again, a little bit slowly. 13 minutes to make your way from JTB up to I-10. Otherwise, we're seeing some slow traffic in the normal spots like 10 eastbound right now, back and forth traffic from Lane Avenue into downtown, and the Buckman Bridge is crawling 21 minutes from US 17 over into Mandarin as you make your way toward that South 95 interchange. Let's take a live look at the DOT 511 traffic cam. You can see that lane blocked off. Their traffic not too bad right now, but of course, they'll be on scene there for quite a while. That's the latest from the Safe Touch Security First Alert Traffic Center. Now your First Alert forecast, meteorologist Tom Johnston.
Well, the story this morning, the rain is gone, so that's good news after 2 to 4 inches. But the clouds remain, and it's still chilly out there with temperatures in the 50s. You're looking at the overcast skies above the Main Street Bridge, even a little mist out there or light drizzle to contend with this morning. Notice in this hour-by-hour forecast how long the clouds kind of stick around. You really have to go into the mid to late afternoon hours towards sunset in the early evening to get some late day sun and then some low clouds tomorrow morning. But as you can see, we do clear out. In fact, a brighter day tomorrow afternoon and again on Friday. Temperatures have been holding steady, generally between 52 and 55 degrees across the Jacksonville metro area. And that's where we stand here at 8:03 in the morning. You can see temperatures struggling to get into the 60s. So, yeah, we've kind of brought temperatures down a little bit from yesterday's forecast. Instead of 70s everywhere, mainly 70s inland and south and west of Jacksonville, because you guys will clear out earlier. I'm afraid we're stuck in the 60s. I mean, not bad, but upper 60s for daytime highs. In the coming days, the 70s do return, and I'll track that for you coming up.
All right, Tom, we're following some breaking news out of Malaysia this morning where the search for a missing airliner is narrowing in on the pilots of that jet. Now, earlier this morning, Malaysian officials said files were recently deleted from the flight simulator found in the home of that pilot who you see here. Now a forensics team is working to recover that information. Also, just into our newsroom, we've learned that the families of the passengers were pulled screaming from this morning's press conference. The mother and other family members of the passengers on the missing Flight 370 walked into a press conference normally used for daily government press briefings. Journalists heard that something was going on, rushed to see. The Chinese family held up a sign protesting how Malaysian Airlines and the Malaysian government are handling the situation. Government media handlers pushed the family out of the room and journalists crowded the family. Meantime, Thailand's military is also coming out with new information. They are now saying they might have detected the last known radar pickup of Flight 370, but they did not share the information right away because no one asked. In the meantime, Malaysian authorities say they have looked into the background of the passengers on the flight from almost every country. The only countries that have not sent information and had passengers on the plane are from Russia and Ukraine.
Well, a Navy crew from NAS Jacksonville is helping in the search for the missing jetliner. So far, the War Eagles have scoured 70,000 square nautical miles of the Indian Ocean south and west of Australia. That is really where the search is focused on here this morning. The War Eagles and the P-8A Poseidon plane were deployed from Jacksonville on Friday. The high-tech aircraft is capable of spotting enemy submarines deep into the ocean. And on Tuesday, Navy officials talked with Action News, giving us a status update on this mission.
They are looking for potentially for debris fields. You know, you would think that that debris would probably be white in contrast to the blue ocean, so it's primarily a visual search at this point, flown during daylight hours.
According to the Pentagon, the War Eagles were chosen because it has the Navy's newest patrol aircraft. The aircrew is also deploying sonar buoys to measure currents that might help detect any potential wreckage.
New this morning, a man has life-threatening conditions after dying and then actually being revived in a crash in the Buckman Bridge. Action News responded to the scene this morning while the crash was being cleaned up, and troopers told us a 64-year-old man had a medical emergency behind the wheel. He actually died but was brought back to life at the scene, according to the Florida Highway Patrol. He is now in critical condition at UF Health.
Well, this morning, police are working to hunt down the hit-and-run driver that killed a retired Navy veteran, then took off. It is a story we brought you here as breaking news all morning long on Tuesday. Police say the retired Navy veteran Roy McGrath, with 21 years of service, was out celebrating St. Patrick's Day when he was struck and killed by a hit-and-run driver along Cassett Avenue around 2:30 that morning. His family tells us he was on his bicycle and only minutes away from his home. They also say the father of three was recently down on his luck. They say his usual bike, equipped with lights and reflectors, was stolen just a few days ago, and that the local veteran had also recently lost his home.
Just don't know how somebody would live with themselves doing that, knowing that you killed somebody in the streets like a dog and then just go on about your business like nothing happened.
That's McGrath's son there speaking this morning. Police are asking for the public's help in this case. If you know anything about who this driver could be, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers 866-845-TIPS. You can remain anonymous and be eligible for a reward.
It's 8:07 right now. State's Attorney Angela Corey's office is explaining its actions in the Marissa Alexander case to state lawmakers. This is according to this letter that was posted in the Florida Times-Union. In it, the Director of Communications for their office says it has been erroneously reported that Alexander fired a warning shot into the ceiling in order to escape her abusive husband. That information is inaccurate. The state's attorney's office argues that Marissa Alexander fired a gun towards her husband and his two children, but she says she was a victim of domestic violence and fired a shot to stop another beating. Alexander is expected to appear before a judge a week from today.
It's 8:08 this morning, and we are learning it could take months before federal investigators find out exactly what caused a Seattle news helicopter to crash. This was the fiery scene Tuesday when that KOMO chopper, or KOMO, crashed right in front of the Space Needle in downtown Seattle. Two men on board were killed, the pilot, Gary Fitzner, and veteran news photographer Bill Strothman. A driver below was critically injured. Investigators with the National Transportation Safety Board say the chopper made an unusual noise before it was trying to take off, but instead it fell off the building and slammed into the ground, landing on three vehicles below and erupting into that fireball. Now, investigators still not sure what went horribly wrong. Journalists, meanwhile, in Seattle say they are devastated.
I know for a fact that Gary was doing everything he could to try to regain or maintain control of that aircraft and, if possible, steer it away from people and cars and vehicles and stuff on the ground. I know that that was the last thing he was doing.
My heart was shredded. He was somebody I had worked with for 30 years, somebody who was an extraordinary photojournalist, a passionate guy, a great friend.
The third victim in the chopper crash is 38-year-old Richard Newman. Witnesses say Newman was inside his vehicle when the chopper came crashing down, and then he had to get himself out and run from the scene while he himself was engulfed in flames. He's in critical condition this morning with second and third degree burns on 20% of his body.
New this morning, a Gainesville family is getting help from the Red Cross after an early morning house fire. Firefighters say when they arrived at this home, they saw heavy smoke and fire coming from the back of the house. The home sustained heavy damage. No one was hurt. The cause is under investigation. Also new this morning, Jacksonville Fire Rescue investigating the cause of a house fire on the south side. They say this home on Thomas Court near St. Augustine Road caught fire around 10:15 last night. Neighbors report the home is vacant. JFRD has not released any information on whether anyone was inside the home or hurt.
A Jacksonville little girl is among hundreds of victims caught up in a worldwide child porn operation. On Tuesday, federal investigators revealed details of one of the largest child exploitation cases in U.S. history. Officials say the operation was online and it included a whopping 27,000 members. We know 14 suspects exploited 251 victims, including 6 children in Florida and 4 more children in Georgia. 2 of the victims were under the age of 3 years old, but most were 13 to 15-year-old boys. Well, the GM recall is really in full swing here across the country, and local customers tell Action News they are refusing to drive their own cars until the recalled ignition switch can be fixed. The company's botched recall is now linked to 12 deaths. Local service managers say fixing the ignition problem could really take some time. GM is now ordering the new parts, but the big issue, they're not even in production yet.
Now your weather and traffic on the ones.
Here at 8:11, I'll give you temperatures outside your door. There they are. Chilly, right? Upper 40s here at Georgia, lower to middle 50s here in Northeast Florida. I'll also give you weather headlines. Here's what's happening. We're going to see a warm-up. It'll get here with spring coming tomorrow officially, and then warm into the weekend. More on that in your full forecast in 6 to 7 minutes from right now. But we are dealing with the cloud cover and the cool temps. Third thing I'm going to give you here right now at 8:11 is the hour-by-hour forecast. Cloudy with some mist, 53, 60 at noon, 67 with some sun by 4 p.m. Here's Derek with First Alert Traffic.
All right, Tom, and we've been following this breaking news for the last hour and a half now. On the top of the Fuller Warren Bridge, 95 northbound, that left lane is blocked due to a fatality crash. Motorcyclist was killed in this crash, and FHP still on the scene investigating. You can see that left lane remains blocked in that area. Of course, it is spring break, so traffic not that heavy through the area, but just be mindful of it. They will be on the scene for quite a while, wrapping up that investigation. That's the very latest from the Safe Touch Security First Alert Traffic Center. Stick around. Action News this morning continues right after this.